Hi, I'm Michelle. I'm a business coach that helps moms build profitable businesses while raising their kiddos. And today we are answering questions in my community. So if you're not familiar with my community, it is the Mompreneur Club. Link will be in the description. It is totally free to join, and inside we had some questions, so let's just get right to it. First question is from Lucy. Tips on doing the things you don't want to do consistently every day without being lazy and ignoring them, and just doing the thing without distraction. She says she's getting a little bit better, but it's hard to imagine keeping this energy and consistency up in the long run. Absolutely. So I think here's what I've found is, first of all, moms are always busy. In the beginning, it takes skills to be able to actually get enough traction. Then you get traction, and then you're doing all the things, right? So the first thing you need to do is how do I actually get people's interest? So you learn copywriting. Then you start getting interest. Okay, how do I get these people to book sales calls? So you learn how to appointment set. Then they're setting appointments with you, and then you're starting to take calls, right? But you're still doing all the other stuff. And then it's, okay, how do I get really good at closing these calls? So now you're on there and you're making sales, and now you got clients. So now you're writing content that's going to convert. You're appointment setting to get that. You're also taking the sales calls and closing them, and you're working with your clients on top of all the other things that moms have to do. And so I think ultimately at the end of the day, right, eventually you're going to hit a point where you're going to need to hire some of this out. But in the meantime, there is a little bit that you can do. One is setting up systems that make it super easy to do consistently, and a system that allows you to work pretty well and efficiently. So for instance, if you're writing content, you might want to spend one day a week and write all the content for the next week. Maybe spending a couple hours is going to make you a lot more efficient at writing content. Also, the better you are at writing the content, the faster you can actually write the content, right? So bam, now you just wrote all of your content for the whole week in 2 hours. And then on a day-to-day basis, all you are is hopping in, copying and pasting, posting it, and having conversations in the DMs to book the appointments. Then you also have to work with your clients, and you have to take sales calls. One of the things that I've done is do time blocking. And so I have specific times of the days and specific days that I work with clients. I have specific times of the days and specific days that I'm doing sales calls. I have specific times of the days and specific days that I'm doing that I'm actually working the appointment setting. And so if you're able to segment up the schedule, get really good at things, kind of come up with this chunk of the day I'm doing this chunk of the day I'm doing this, you'll start to break out and create a system that's basically moves a lot more smoothly and gets you into the groove. And then as you keep growing and keep compounding and get more and more, eventually you'll be to the point where you can actually hire people. Here is one of the biggest tips that I think people need to understand. If you are working more than 40 hours a week and you don't have enough money to pay someone else, you're undercharging. You're not getting paid enough. So or you're not converting high enough. So that's a matter of just getting better at it. So these are things that we just want to think about, right? Am I working 40 hours a week or not? If it's not, you still have more that you can be doing, right? Because it is a job, right? The next aspect to that is, if I am working a lot and I'm not making enough money, am I converting enough of the people that I'm talking to? And am I getting paid enough? Those would be the next questions I would be asking. Because ideally, you're converting enough of the people you're talking to, which means that you're making enough money that you can actually start to hire out some of this work and hire a sales team to do the outreach for you, to do maybe appointment set for you, take the sales calls, and write the copy for you, right? If you had different people doing those different tasks, then all you'd have to do is work with the clients and, maybe copy and paste the posts and engage in the community. So at the end of the day, I think it's going to come down to, are you skilled enough? And are you organized enough? And then if those two things check out, then are you priced appropriately? Cool. Next one. Madeline's asking how to narrow down to a profitable niche where you can find quality clients. This is a good one. You want to think of a niche that people actually pay for. So the typical niches that we hear about is health, wealth, and relationships, right? people will always pay good money for health, wealth, and relationships. Why? Because they are innate human needs that every single human being has. And so if you're in one of those niches, that's a good starting point. And then you want to think of, how can I stand out from others and have a high ticket offer? You also want to think about the person who's going to give you $50 is going to, basically ask for your firstborn son, whereas someone who's willing to give you $50,000 is going to be super happy to just transfer over the wire or transfer over the cash. So the best thing you can do is, if you're looking for high profits and high quality clients, is to go really high ticket. The problem with that is that means it has to be really high quality results, right? And typically there's a level of networking that has to be involved in order to get around such high quality people in the first place. So sometimes it might take some stepping stones to get there. But I would say start with health, wealth, and relationships. Figure out who the niche is that you want to serve, right? If you can work with businesses, they are willing to spend more money, and rich people are willing to spend more money. So if you're looking for highly profitable, I would say working with business owners, entrepreneurs, right? Also working with rich people and saying, okay, I'm now going to work with these people. What is a problem that they have that I can solve? Get around those people, get into those spaces, get to know them in and out, figure out what their problems and current pain points are, figure out how to solve it, sell it to them. You now have a very profitable business with quality clients. Naomi says, would taking a break from my business help, or is that going to kill your business? I think it depends on the circumstance. I've seen some of her posts. She's having she's struggling a little bit with working because she works a full-time job and she's trying to grow her business at the same time. And she's a single mom to multiple kids. And she's dependent on her income for a number of reasons, health insurance, all these different things, right? But she's feeling overwhelmed. So here's the thing. It takes time and traction. So a lot of the times the rewards that we reap is work that we did 2 to 3 months prior, right? And so by all means, if you feel like you need to take a break from your business, that is fine. Be ready to put in the work and start from scratch and put in the work for months before you start to see a payoff when you pick it back up. So that's what I'm going to caution you there. If you can, keep it going so that it doesn't totally die down, and maybe you just lessen the workload, that's more ideal. But again, everybody's situation is different. I guess the question here would be, why are you taking a break from your business? How much could you actually put into your business? Is there other things that you can take a break from instead of your business, right? And that's a personal question. So unfortunately, this is not something that I think anybody could really answer. It's going to be a you question. But again, just understanding, if you take a break in the business, that is fine. It's totally fine to pick it up again later. Many people do that. Maybe people have done that. Sometimes it's just the name of the game in entrepreneurship. But just be prepared to start from scratch later. Rita says, intentional networking suggestions for those that are more introverted and want to avoid on social media. This is a really good one. There's lots of different ways to grow a business, right? If you're building a community, ideally you're going to be talking to a lot of people, right? I think really when it comes down to it, you need to have a good offer that people want with a good market. You need to get eyes on it, right? Traffic. That can be organic traffic where you're posting on social media, you're making content. That's pretty much what you've got for organic, right? It could be referrals, it could be networking. But again, you're going to be spending all day, every day talking to lots of different people and joining lots of groups and being very active and engaged in them. The only real other option besides speaking with people one-on-one is to do paid ads. That is a whole other animal. And I would say don't do paid ads unless you know how to do paid ads. That being said, though, if you are somebody who says, I cannot succeed in a social environment because that is not authentic to me and there's no way that I can do that, the next best thing I would say is 100% start learning about media buying and start taking as many courses as you can about how to run paid ads. The next thing is, it depends on your offer. If you are running paid ads, what are they running paid ads to? That's going to go to some sort of a funnel. If you're having a high ticket offer, more likely than not, you're going to have to do a sales call, right? And so I think I would look very closely at developing a funnel, getting really good at paid ads, having that run to a funnel with multiple upsells, with email marketing, with all these things that are in place, so you don't have to physically be talking to people. And then you need to make the determination of, do I want to be doing sales calls, or do I hire someone to do the sales calls for me on a commission? You could totally do that where it doesn't cost anything to you besides the commission of the salesperson. But in doing that, you're just going to have to make sure you're getting enough leads to justify to the salesperson to put you on their calendar. So that would be the other option, I would say, right? If you're not super... So yeah, I mean, intentional networking suggestions, right? If you are actually open to networking, I would say joining masterminds where you learn and network at the same time with high-level professionals. Those have been incredibly powerful for me in my business, and they are just a great source of getting out there and getting in front of the right people. So you're not just, spending time talking to a bunch of people that aren't going to move the needle forward. Cool. And then there was one left. So Mojine was asking, if you're going to create an evergreen product, like maybe a beginner, all-inclusive, go high-level tutorial series, each video being less than 5 minutes, what would you price it at? And this one, I would say I would want to do some market research and also identify what is making... And also identifying what about your tutorial series is different than others, because ideally somebody can just go on YouTube and type in go high level tutorials, right? So why would they even purchase anything to begin with? So if I'm thinking of a course or a tutorial series, I would say you want to group something in with it. So maybe you have an agency and you have spots that they can buy. So they buy a membership, get access to the tutorial series, get access to Go High Level at a cheaper rate than everybody else. Plus they get access to maybe a tech support call every month. Or even maybe, hey, we're going to sell it not as cheaper than everybody else, but at a reasonable rate. They get access to the tutorial series and they get access to the tech support calls to get their questions answered. Yeah, and then at that point, I would say like Go High Level is $98 a month. I probably wouldn't go higher than that, even with all of those, because why would somebody buy it? Like, unless they have no idea what Go High Level is or they didn't know the price, why would they buy it, right? So I would say you need to, I would say don't go for just having an evergreen product that's just going to go out there and sell, because in my experience, why would they do that instead of just going onto YouTube? And especially if you're starting out and like you don't have a big audience, you don't have a big email list to sell this thing to, like you're just starting out, you're competing with some people who have been in the space for forever and are giving it away for free on YouTube. So I think in the age of information, right, information is free. So you're not really selling information. You're selling ease and you're selling speed. And they would get that by having the calls with you. And then like pricing, I would probably put it somewhere between, maybe, I think it depends on your market, but I'd probably say like around $39, $49 maybe per month. Those kind of tend to be awkward for memberships. I think they cap out at about $29, and then the next one is like $99 a month or something like that. But again, if you're grouping Go High Level in, Group Go High Level in itself is $98 a month. So if you're doing Go High Level plus, tech support calls, plus maybe, we set it up for you, plus you get this tutorial so you can know how to use it ongoing, like more stuff, right? I think that's really what it comes down to. Anyway, I hope this is helpful. If you want me to keep making more stuff like this, let me know in the comments and we'll keep doing this.